I know I'm not. You all right, ma'am? In the blanket? You good? You good? You need a breath? You need some water? All right. That's okay. That's okay. Take your second. So, the reason why we are amazing at this is because we treat them like royalty, and we want to treat them like royalty today. So when they come in, when I announce them, you're going to stand up and you're going to scream, and you're going to make them feel like they're in Lexington, Kentucky, and they're the smoothest, oldest bourbon you could ever have. Make them feel like Pappy. Got it? You got it for me? Can you do this? So we're going to have questions right. Woo, you sons of guns! I'm supposed to keep this PG-13. I really suck at that. Come on in. Let's try to get everybody in as quickly as we can. We got a bunch of seats over here. I want to sit down so we can get it started so you have as many questions. Who has questions? Yes, you want questions. Who has questions? So what we're going to do is once we start questions, I want somebody to be the first person. Who's going to be the first person? Who wants it? Hold on for 1 second. Let me meet them real quick. No, hold on. Hold on, you bastards. I told you this is the one I was most excited about, can you tell? Let's give it up for Richard Dreyfuss. Well, you want near? Who wants near me? That's okay. They're much prettier than you. Yes, someone sit near me. And then everyone have a seat. Let me move my purse so that someone can sit up here with me. What? I got pictures.
With that kind of greeting, he's never going to stop talking.
Listen,
born in a trunk.
Yeah. In the Princess Theater.
as much as we love you, Mr. Dreyfuss, we love all of you, do we not? Now, as I always say, none of you come here to see me, right?
Right.
Our first question goes to this lady here. You're coming on. Oh, I wasn't joking when we were, earlier. You're going to pop this. Oh, I'll kill it then. All right. And if you have questions, please line up behind this young lady here, and we will get started, and I will shut up.
Hello, my name is Amy. My question is for Mr. Richard. I literally found out yesterday that you were the centipede in James and the Giant Peach and proceeded to freak out. So I would just like to know, how did you become casted in that iconic movie?
Oh, you got this. You got.
I was stepped on, and they were getting me off the heel of the boot, and so I auditioned at the same time. It was ugly, but it worked. So that's it.
Next victim.
I just want to say, met all you guys this morning, fantastic, once in a lifetime opportunity for me, coming from England, now living in the States, and Jaws is my favourite movie, has been forever, so thank you for that. But my question is for Mr. Dreyfuss here. We were in New York last month and we saw The Shark is Broken. We saw that you recently saw it. What did you think of the play and how accurate was it?
That's a great question.
It wasn't accurate, and it was. What bothered me was that at any time that they called me and said, "Can you give us some background for your character?" because they made up a character's background, which didn't make a lot of sense. And also because there was a real affection between me and Robert. And to be told basically 30 years later that we had a feud hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So it hurt. And I don't want people to think that version of that experience was correct, because I had an enormous respect and affection for him, and he'd already given some of the greatest performances I've ever seen, and so to be told a lifetime later apparently it's from Carl Gottlieb, the writer, who's a friend of mine, and Steven Spielberg, the director. They just, I don't know why, combined to create this story. And it wasn't true. And as friends, I think they really fucked up. And as people who want to memorialize their own work, they totally screwed up, because they made it about something silly and cheap. And also there was never a time when it was the actors against the world. It was the film company against the world, and the character that's missing for me is Steven. Mm-hmm. And he's safely off stage, and his genius made the film work, and his, I don't know what, decision to do this was hurtful.
Well, sorry to bring the room down, but thank you for this great answer.
So really quick though, so some of our audience may not know, The Shark is Broken is a play that's currently and then stars Robert Shaw's son playing his father about the making of Jaws. Right. So it's currently, is it on Broadway now?
Yeah, it's in November. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here, guys. Very much appreciated.
Don't be sorry that you brought the room down. This is about life.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm nervous.
You got this.
Share your first memory, if you will, of Steven Spielberg.
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us when you first met Steven, everybody?
For your first memory of Steven?
Yeah,
We'll start here and go down.
Well, I flew to Boston. I was an actor in New York, and my agent got me an appointment. And I read about that they were making this movie in the Vineyard Gazette, which is the local vineyard paper that I read year-round. And I flew to Boston, and I met Steven, and we just sat and talked. We did not read, there was no script, there was nothing like that. And when I walked out of the room, I said to a guy who I knew there, and I said, I'm gonna get this job. I have never done that before and never done that since. And 10 days later, I was in Virginia, I think shooting a television commercial, and I got the call, and I was blessed. It was lucky, and it metamorphosed my life. It's very cool.
Richard, do you want to go next, and then we go down the line? Do you remember the first time you met Steven?
The first time I met Steven Spielberg,
Can you lean in just a little bit?
I was sitting in, I was invited into the office of a TV producer, and Steven was sitting in the corner, and he was introduced to me. And it was a show that I knew I was going to turn down. And I did. And I said, thank you very much for wanting me to do this, but it's not something I'm interested in. Thank you very much. And one of the two producers went, he did it again. And that's when Stephen and I met for the first time. And then he called me some months later and asked me to meet him for lunch because he wanted to talk about me doing a part in Jaws. And he said, and don't read the book. And I said, okay, and I'm such a good actor that I have never read the book until now. And he offered me the part of Hooper, and I said no. I said, thank you very much, but no. And he said, why? I said, because this is going to be a bitch to shoot. I am very lazy. I can't imagine doing it. And he said, what did he say? I think he said check. And then I turned it down again. And then I saw a film that I had just finished shooting. And I watched me in that film. And I thought, if this gets sold in the United States, I will never work again.
Are you going to tell us the movie?
It's called The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz, and I thought I was a piece of bug.
You were not.
Well, I didn't know it then. And so I figured I have to be working when this film opens. So I went to Stephen's hotel, got down on my hands, and begged him for the part, which he gave me. And we went off from there. Many years later, I was describing to him a situation that happened with me and my agent, a thing that is called deal breaking. And that's when they owe you. They have a verbal agreement with you, which is legal. And they owe you whatever it was that you agreed to verbally. But they've decided for whatever reason, they can't use me. So they have to get me to quit the film. That is called deal breaking. And what they say, in order for you to never want to work with them again, I walked into my agent's office and he was saying, you mean if I don't get Richard to agree to this, you're not going to hire any of my other clients? And I got so angry that I grabbed the phone and yelled and screamed for some, and said, fuck you. And I said, which is what they had wanted me to do, but I didn't know that. And when I described this to Stephen 15 years later, he said, gosh, that's funny. That's exactly what we did to get Timothy Bottoms out of Jaws.
So funny.
So I felt like a piece of shit.
So you see, there are ups and downs in the Dreyfussian universe.
Only in the Dreyfussian.
Please.
I'm Susie. I play Chrissy. And I was given the part by a very old stuntman in the business that specialized in water. And he put my name in to the producer to do the part. Well, Stephen wanted an actress from New York. So when I went to meet Stephen on set, I know he wants this actress and not me. So I was like, and when I went up, he was eating at the table. And this is Stephen. He had a cup in his mouth, like a camera, and he's doing this. And I think, this is Steven Spielberg. And the main thing he said to me was, when you finish your scene, I want the people under the seats with the popcorn and bubble gum. So we tried to do that. I think we succeeded.
Hello. I'm the youngest one to die in that movie. And I had just moved down to that island, Martha's Vineyard, Amity Island, the year before they filmed it. And like everyone else, they had to go meet Steven in offices or all over the place. And I was just a young 12-year-old kid, and they were making a movie on this island, and they need a lot of extras, so we all signed up for $40 a day. And then Steven wasn't in the picture yet. They called a few people back. The oldest Sheriff Brody's son, he worked for Chris Bello. He got a speaking part. They called me and read a line. Oh, you get a speaking part. You don't get $40 a day like your friends. You get 140. And still didn't know Spielberg yet. And then they started filming, and then Spielberg, everyone's down on the island then. It's a small island. We used to break it when they had the shark cruise, and you know, they didn't have cameras and security then. But then finally, when Spielberg was down, started these scenes. My scene, it was so cold, they tried to wait later because you had to go in that water up in New England. You don't want to swim in that till like July, and they did that you had to be out before Memorial Day weekend. So people like, afraid of the shark? No, I was afraid of freezing my 12-year-old ass off. But Spielberg, that whole thing really didn't get going with him, because you know, I'm just a little 12-year-old kid, and I got a speaking part. And then before they did that scene where I get eaten, they had that little parade, and I just got to the island. I played the drums in that band. And Spielberg, when I first met him, he goes, I'm there with the drums, all excited, a 12-year-old kid, and he comes over, Mr. Voorhees, or Jeff, whatever you call it. He pulled me over, he thought, you can't be in this scene. And this is the first time I met him. I'm like, why not? And he's like, because you die in this movie. And he wasn't going to let me be in it because of that part. And I was just a little kid, it's a small island, and it's like, hey, Steve, I go, why can't I be in it? And finally, after being a little pain in the 12-year-old bunda there, it's like, went up and he finally goes, you know what, you're not dead yet. You could be in that scene too. So that's always a big trivia. It's like, oh, that's how it's been. And that was the first time I met him there. But then that was, you know, it's fun because you would see him around. And then when they did my scene, that's where, it was great. He let me be in the parade scene. And then that scene, you know, it was one of his first movies. And when they was doing they filmed that in May, and that water is so cold in May. And Spielberg wanted everything perfect, one of his first movies. And I'm just a 12-year-old kid. He's like, okay, Spielberg's telling me, beg Leif Arrow, my mother in the movie, to go back in the water. And when she says, finally you can go in, start swimming on this raft. And all those little beach houses are all fake. And all my friends are on the beach there. And Spielberg's like, okay, now, beg to go in and start swimming out a little. We'll say cut. And then, so we did that. And then he says cut. And Spielberg was like, they tried a little mannequin where the shark bites it and body parts are flying. In the 70s, horror movies were what, King Kong, Godzilla, they go, this is too gory, little kid parts flying everywhere. So Spielberg was like, okay, we have this barrel full of blood out there, beg to go back in the water and swim out there. And then we say cut, and they put a half raft over this barrel full of blood. And Spielberg's like, now you're gonna lie on top of it, and he wanted everything perfect. And when this thing explodes, go in the water and stand in there as long as you can. And 12-year-old freezing your little ass off, this thing's gonna explode. It's like the first time, bam, blood starts flying up everywhere. Go in the water, swim ashore, finally freezing my little ass off, and go to Spielberg. We all set. Well, I just wanted out of there. He's like, no, your arm came out of the water. We got to do it again. And it's like, oh, this is where he was nice. He let me in the parade, but now he's gonna make me go back in that damn cold water and lie on a machine blowing up blood. And the second time, and it would take 7 hours for all that blood to clear out before they did it again. And the second time, Spielberg said, okay, let's try it again. And the second time, no, your leg came out of the water. And he'd make me do it again. It's like, freezing cold, and all the people on the beach, you knew them. my brother, everyone's in that, and they're all pissed because I screwed up, and they're freezing cold. I had to join Screen Actors Guild, so they take me up to a nice warm dressing room. Oh, see you guys later. It's like, and then like after 5 days, you know, it was taking so long, Spielberg finally said, okay, this time we're gonna do it a different way. He goes, this time we have 2 guys in wetsuits near that machine, and when that explodes, each one's gonna grab one of your legs, and they'll lift you in and out of the water a few times. That's why you see me go up, it's 2 guys. And so basically, day 5, these 2 guys lift you in and out of the water and pull you under and give you air, and then Spielberg was like, okay, we finally got it after 5 days. But that's where it was fun. You see them around, the little kids, they would have baseball games, cookouts, but it was fun.
You know, those were the days when Steven was still Steven. Now he's Spielberg.
Next victim.
So the scene in the boat with Brody, Hooper, and Quint, from the beginning to end from them, comparing injuries to the Quint Indianapolis speech to show me the way to go home. Best scene, one of the best scenes in movie history.
Yeah.
I know Quint's speech definitely was scripted, but was all that scripted, or was it just you guys having fun and Spielberg just recording it?
No, it was scripted, every line. And what wasn't scripted was the speech. And Stephen being Stephen, in the sense that he went to school with and was best friends with Francis Coppola, George Lucas, and Milius, and
John Milius, yeah.
everybody, and every one of his friends took a shot at the speech. So Milius is everyone's favorite right-wing director. He's like our Teddy Roosevelt. And he wrote a 16-page version of that speech. And Francis Coppola wrote some enormous saga based on Apocalypse Now or something. And everyone, all the talent it was in that generation, all took a shot at that speech. It was eventually written by Stephen and Robert. And Robert, because he's a wonderful writer and had a play, a very good play on Broadway at that moment. And Stephen, because he has a great sense of theater. He has a wonderful sense of a lot of things. Friendship, but he knew how to write that character. And so he condensed all of his friends' works into this much shorter thing. And what happened was that on the day, we were just getting over the fact that our script supervisor, Charlesie, was a woman who was about 60 years old and a total alcoholic. And she could not stand being on the ocean. So she received by radio all the stuff she had to write down. And we were literally speaking into a mic that said, and we said, he lifted his left arm on the word such and such, and he did this and he did that, and we fed it to her. Because she was a little. And then we find out that Robert had told Stephen that he wanted to try it really drunk. And that was the beginning of the longest day of my life. Because that was, I'm in the shot. And if I'm in the shot, I can't move, I can't leave. If my mother died, I have to stay. And so, I watched my friend, wither and die in front of me, because he was, when you're drunk, you get worse. And when you get worse, you get embarrassed and humiliated, and you get worse. And that day lasted from about, God knows, 7 or 8 in the morning, and we broke. Stephen eventually was just trying to get Robert to get to an ending of a sentence. And it took him all day. And I'm sitting there in the shot, sweating bullets for my friend. And that night, when we broke the day's work, apparently Robert called Stephen at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he said, "How badly did I humiliate myself?" And Stephen said, "Not fatally." And he came in the next day, and he did the whole thing in one take. One take. That, what you see in this movie is what he did in one take. And I don't know if you know this, but Robert was in Man for All Seasons, and in it he played King Henry VIII. And the whole scene is him arriving by barge and dancing with Vanessa Redgrave in a party. And then he has this long and incredibly intense conversation with Paul Scofield. And then he leaves, and he gets back on the boat, goes away. That's the whole scene. He did it in one day. The whole scene in one day. And was nominated for an Academy Award. And it was so easy to see that he was going to be nominated for the work he did that day. I mean, it was like watching Rembrandt. It was like watching a grand artiste.
And I thought Robert Engel was a storyteller. This, you are something special.